Oh, great. I know we're live because Kevin just got a notification on his computer that said a live webcast has just begun, which is pretty impressive.
Hello.
Yes, welcome everyone to the August 2017 version of the Logic Apps Live webcast, which is great. I'm going to turn this down because I can hear that a little bit. So we're excited to be here today. We did another webcast on time, even a little bit early.
Yeah. Summertime we didn't all melt from the eclipse.
The eclipse, yeah. Kevin, I've watched Kevin today. He's squinting really close at his laptop. I don't know.
Those damn glasses.
I guess so, something like that. But we're excited to be here today. We are the Logic Apps team. I'm Jeff Holland.
I am Kevin Lamb.
And we have plenty of goodies to share with you. So thanks so much, first off, for joining. We're going to go through what's new, what's coming. We will be more than happy to answer your questions. So if you're watching right now on YouTube, there's that beautiful chat window to the right-hand side. Feel free to drop a message for us there. Or if you're watching a recording of this, you can always send us a tweet at logicappsio or an email at logicappsemail@microsoft.com, and we will answer your question right away. And of course, like always, if you want to stay up to date with all the exciting stuff happening in Logic Apps, integration, serverless, if you subscribe to this channel, you get cool little alerts like what Kevin got to start this webcast. So with that, we will jump right into it. So Kevin, yes, you are now showing your screen to everyone for the
webcast.
What's new.
Yay. Next webcast. Let's see what we got next. Welcome to Event Grid. Wow, this is super exciting. Event Grid got released last week, and is another key component in our serverless story about serverless eventing.
Yes, very excited for Event Grid to join the serverless family. If you aren't familiar with Event Grid, if you haven't heard of it before, check out the link that takes you to the Event Grid page. There's also a blog post from Corey Sanders where he explains the service. I just saw they just released the Tuesdays with Corey video, talks about it as well. There's a bunch of stuff out there, but really this is just a serverless way to trigger off and route events across your serverless application. So these events might be, I want to be notified whenever someone changes my production subscription, to whenever an IoT device emits an event, to I want to be notified whenever somebody places an order. So all of those things that are event-based before, you can now route with Event Grid. Check it out. It's serverless, it's webhook-based, it's instant. It's pretty cool.
This is going to be a real game changer.
Yeah,
be able to in our fabric get all these events, and we have a great Logic Apps experience for getting these events through Event Grid.
I would say we have the best Event Grid experience around.
Hands down.
If you haven't tried out the Event Grid trigger, you really just say talk to Event Grid. You choose what you want to listen to, and everything else is taken care of.
We do all the heavy lifting for you. We create the subscriptions in the background, and you create it, and events are coming in.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think. What was I going to say on Event Grid? Anyway, it's very awesome. Check it out. We do have very slick integration that's there, and more actions coming. Oh, this is it. Last webcast, you teased that there was connectors being built that we weren't yet announcing. Was it Event Grid? Was that the connector that you were teasing out?
Yes, that was the connector.
Ah, great. Yes. I thought so. As soon as it got released, I was like, oh, that's what Kevin was teasing. So, all right, great. So first and foremost, welcome to Event Grid. With that, let's see what's new.
Okay, so this time around, before we were going through every little bit of feature that we pushed out there. This time, what we're going to do is we'll talk about some of the juicier features, but you can always find that full list of features on portal.azure.com. So what's first? Custom HTML and CSV headers.
So this is a not very well-known feature, where if you have an array, any collection, you can actually convert it to either a CSV document or to an HTML table with what we call the table action. An example of this is maybe you want to get a daily summary of all the tweets that happened within that day on a certain topic. I know Twitter is a hello world example, but it illustrates the point. You could add the Twitter trigger, turn off split on, so it's not splitting a run per tweet. It's just sending the entire collection. Maybe you say every day, just give me all new tweets. And what you could do is you can add like this table action to say, I want to create an HTML table. What's this new functionality is that's now there is you can go into the advanced settings and you can specify, here's what I want the column name to be. here's what I want the value to be. Here's what I want the column name to be. So you could say, like, I want a table that has tweeted by and when they tweeted it and how many retweets it has. And then we will output this nice HTML table that you could embed in an email. If it's a CSV doc, you could go stick it into an FTP server. So this just gives you some more flexibility and tools when working with CSV and HTML. So we're checking out, and also worth letting us know if there's more you would like us to see in that realm.
So on the HTML side, it's great for doing emails. On the CSV side, we have a lot of scenarios where people are sucking in data from, for example, a database, and they want to create a CSV file that some older system needs CSVs, and you create that headers. And it's a really nice, flexible way to be able to manipulate your data.
For sure. Even more modern systems like Data Lake. If you're like appending a bunch of data into Data Lake, CSV is such a nice format to just append on values to. So I've even seen some people who use that CSV thing and they just append some Data Lake stuff, and then they use Data Lake Analytics to aggregate it. So useful functionality there.
What's next? Enable log analytics from Create. Oh, this is a teaser.
It is, yes, because there's the other one. So now you can easily say, hey, I want all of my events for my Logic app, all my logs. I guess I should be hesitant when I say events. All my logs for my Logic apps to go directly into log analytics, and we make that easy for you to opt in immediately from the Create.
So we could always do this, right? But you just have to create your Logic app and go to the diagnostics section, find the blade where you can enable either log analytics, event hub, or storage. But now we wanted to make it super easy because we really want to highlight a particular scenario for log analytics, which is OMS Operations Management Suite. We now have a new package for Logic apps in OMS, so it's actually built into OMS, and you can add it and create a dashboard for all of your Logic apps that's running. So now you get a really great view across all of your Logic apps, and you can do deep queries on them, and we're going to continue to add functionality to that. By adding that log analytics checkbox, now all that data is going to flow into log analytics and into your OMS dashboard.
And we'll show that in just a second, how to set that up. It's super slick, but anyone who's asked the question of how do I manage an entire solution of multiple Logic apps, this is super easy to set up and let you do it. And it comes with a bunch of new cool OMS features as well.
Yeah. Come on. Peak. Love this one.
Simple but effective. So if you ever find yourself, maybe you're a Logic app expert or you really just love JSON, and you switch back into code view because you want to see what something looks like in code view, it's sometimes difficult to find like your trigger or that action when you're scrolling through that long list. So now you just click that little action menu ... thing, and you can say peak, and it will show you right there the card kind of transitions and turns into the code view version of that card, which is actually pretty useful, surprisingly so, to either pull out values or see exactly what's the shape of this request going out. Right now it is read only, but we'd also love to get your feedback on, is this something that you need to be able to edit as well? But again, even when I say that, it's like you ask people if they want ice cream. They always say yes.
Please give it to me with caramel.
Yeah, make noise, and we can prioritize it even higher.
I've seen some scenarios where people have turned all their cards into peak mode. So they get a designer view, but then actually look at the code.
I could totally see the usefulness of that, because then it's like got the little graph representation.
Next. Ooh, weekly and daily schedules. So advanced scheduling in the designer. We're now able to we've had this capability in code view for quite some time, but now we're exposing that advanced capability right from the designer, so you can create some of these advanced schedules in the designer. So we have weekly and daily today, and we'll be adding monthly really soon.
And that's another one, actually. So maybe right now, since that was abbreviated, and again, if you want the full unfiltered list, we have those release notes in Logic apps, but maybe I'll just present quickly, and I will show you the OMS dashboard as well as some of the stuff with Event Grid as we go into this inception mode. Okay, so I am now here, and let me make sure I am presenting, because I know it always prompts me 10 times to make sure I'm cool presenting to everyone. I apologize, everyone who had to watch the Okay, so this is the Azure portal, simple enough. The first thing I want to show you is the some of the Event Grid stuff, as well as, what was the other thing I wanted to show you? Oh, the OMS dashboard, that's right. So I'm going to open up this very well-named Logic app called My Other Workflow. And it's very simple. I'm just highlighting a few things. So I'm listening to tweets, as I mentioned before. There's a new action. This one isn't public yet. It will be rolling out very shortly. Should roll out this month. This allows me to publish events into EventGrid. So if I have my own custom events, in this case, I care about all social media events, and I'm emitting an event here called Tweet Serverless, because these are all tweets about serverless that are happening. I can just push that event directly from within my workflow. And I also have, I know this isn't a trigger position, but I can just show you quickly, there is an Azure EventGrid trigger as well, so that you can trigger events whenever a resource event occurs, like what I just talked about earlier. So just calling out again those EventGrid trigger and then the action, which is coming very soon. The other thing I want to show you here is I have two logic apps in my solution. I have my event listener, and then I have my other workflow. Man, these are so well named. Well, when I created these logic apps, chose to emit these into log analytics. So I want to show you now how quickly I can take those events from log analytics and have insights on top of them. So I've opened up log analytics in Azure, and I'm going to open up the OMS portal, or Operation Management Suite portal. Now, if you haven't looked and seen the news yet, OMS actually went through a big update about 2 weeks ago where the underlying query language is now I don't know what the official name for it is now, but it's like the App Insight query language. It's a really powerful piece of tech. It's actually what we use as a team to manage all of our telemetry and events for the Logic App service. And now you get to use it yourself. So I've already added this here, but if you haven't before, you simply choose the solutions gallery, and right here, it's actually the first solution in the solution gallery. It's not showing for mine because I've added it. You'll see that there is a Logic App solution. So you just click that solution, you click add, and you're done. Again, I want to emphasize you have to upgrade to the latest version of OMS though. So you might see a little ribbon up here saying upgrade. You have to upgrade first. But then once you do that, this tile just pops up automatically. You don't have to do anything here. It's just created. And if I go ahead and open it, what it's actually showing is it's showing all of the logic apps that are emitting events into this OMS instance. I can see things like how many are succeeded, how many are failed. Logic apps is such an easy solution to build that nothing's failing in my solution. I can see, the success and failure trends. What's great here is I can even click in to get insights about the different runs that have occurred. I could do filters here to see, what are all of my runs that are greater than 0.1 seconds, to do some filters here. This is just some really powerful stuff. I can even click in if I want to dive deeper into the next level of log search. I can click one of those records. It's not loading up for me right now, which is fine. But I can dive even deeper into any one of those and execute some really advanced queries or custom alerts on top of all those logs. So definitely worth checking out. We are just getting started with this. We want to add features like resubmit, download message contents, batch resubmit, all within the solution. Hopefully that's not giving away too much. So that is the first part. I want to show both of those. And now I will stop sharing and actually give control over to Kevin, who is going to show us advanced schedules as well.
Are you ready to go?
It's not presenting. Did you click the little green, the green spiel in the Hangout?
I did that already.
Is this the same window? I might just have
technical difficulties.
That's all right.
Here we go.
Okay, and let me see. Oh yeah, we see it now. Perfect.
Okay. Sharing?
Yep.
Sharing. Great. Okay, so advanced schedule. So your recurrence trigger, it's the same recurrence trigger, but now when you hit the drop down, you'll notice that we have month, week, day, hour, minute, second. And when you pick either week, show advanced, either week or day, let's pick week first. You get a couple of extra options here. So you see this first one, which is on these days. If I open this up, you get to pick the days. So if let's say you want to have your Logic app run every weekday, you can select Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you see what we give you is a little preview of what that schedule looks like. So this will run on every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every 3 weeks.
I love that preview thing, by the way. I was just telling Kevin today, it's super slick, especially once you start getting really advanced stuff like If you started adding hours or
Let's
minutes, it can sometimes be hard for me to wrap my mind around, okay, when exactly will this run? And so that preview just tells me really clearly, oh, hey, you know, this is going to run
at 9 and 5 every weekday, every 4 weeks, every month we'll get this to run. So this gives you a nice hint about the things you can do, and you can go into some pretty interesting scenarios. You know, here's a little tip for you guys. If I don't select hours and I go into minutes and I say 30, this will actually run every hour on the 30-minute mark.
Is there any difference between doing that and saying select all on hours, or are they just
you could, it just saves you from having to do that.
That's
but then you can do more interesting combinations, because I could do 30, 45, 15, and then you get some interesting combinations. So look at that preview window. It'll give you a nice hint. And the next thing that will be coming up is advanced. So of course you can also do hourly. So the hourly just gives you, sorry, not hourly, daily. Day, and then you can set the hours of the day. So every 2 days at 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning, go run this thing, and so that we give you the capability. So the next thing that will be coming up, and it's going through our design reviews at the moment, is monthly. So we'll get a monthly schedule, so then you can do really cool things like the first and last Friday of the month at 5 o'clock, or the last day of the month, or things like that, and we'll give you all those capabilities right from this recurrence trigger.
I like this. And it also, the daily one looks good because it looks like this can kind of solve, or maybe if it's in weekly, because it would be weekday, but you could have things just run during work hours. Like you could say between like 9 and 5 or 8 and 5 or 2 a.m. and 5, depending on some people in this webcast to join at the earliest hours or latest evening. But that's cool.
I see some folks from Australia and New Zealand here at 3 o'clock in the morning.
So everyone's work hours are different. We appreciate everyone. Okay, that's actually very cool. So that's some of the cool new features that we have shipped and updated. It looks like from chat that people appreciate it as well. And of course, unsurprisingly so, they want ice cream. So one question that we will answer just right now in the middle, because it is related, how exact can you expect the clock for scheduling to be?
So that let's see. So we actually have another cool feature that we haven't announced yet. But the clock in scheduler from all of our analytics is within a granularity of no worse than a minute for the top 99 percentile or some factor like that.
Yep.
But we're at the whim of kind of the underlying systems. When storage has a little bit of a hiccup, things may get a little behind. So on your daily schedules, you have to figure out what your tolerance is for anywhere from a few seconds to at most a minute. But things happen, right? But we do have another feature that we've done that's not exposed that will allow you to do actually time windows. And so you can have a very fixed schedule for, let's say, I want something to run every hour. And if for some reason there's a hiccup when we miss one of those hours, when everything comes back up, we won't skip over that hour. We'll actually remember. It's like, hey, don't forget about this time window. And it's really good for doing like data synchronization and other scenarios, because you can rely on those 2 time slots that we give you in that time window.
Makes sense. Or if you told it to start at 3 o'clock on the dot and it started at 3 o'clock at like 1 second, you could still know, oh, this was scheduled to start at 3 o'clock on the dot, and you can use that data to use for your filters or whatever else.
So that's not exposed in the designer, but that's one of the things in our backlog to expose for everybody to consume.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Good answer. Okay, so with that, it's everyone's second favorite part after demos, which is what's coming next.
No.
Oh, it's not? Oh, new connector. Of course. I always forget.
Yeah, new connectors. And two got bunched together.
Yeah.
Azure Tables and Azure Event Grid. So we talked about Event Grid already. And now we have Azure Tables, one of our second highest requested connector. So now that's out there. Go party on tables. Yep. Table storage.
It's even got that cool little feature where you create a connection for it, and it just lists all the tables in your subscription. So it's really easy to get started with.
See what's next. So
they're all going in twos.
Okay, that's cool. You can do that. Azure Log Analytics. So now you're able to go and do queries for reports and get those things cooking in the background and get the results out of Log Analytics. They're looking at adding functionality so you can actually pump data into log analytics. That's not that part. That's not out yet. But at least now you can do queries, and that's all the stuff that's in OMS. The other one is SQL Data Warehouse. So now you get to examine data out of the warehouse. So it's that's another one that's going to continue adding more and more operations to the warehouse.
And another one that was pretty high on user voice, which I've said it before, I'll say it again, we pay attention to. We really do.
Put your votes in there. Oh, this is a single one. So Microsoft Staff Hub. So that's one of our services that does some human capital management and some event scheduling and communication to your employees. Some really neat stuff in there. And they all came out. Put in place. Obviously, Jeff did this.
I did. I built the slides this week, so you can tell they're not perfect.
So MySQL, that's we had MySQL for a while, but now you can do write operations on MySQL. So now you can actually go do updates on that. ServiceNow.
Yay.
Yeah, this is an important one. Please go kick the tires on it. It's only deployed in East US 2 because we want you guys to go and try it out. There's some interesting APIs that ServiceNow has that makes the building the connector a little complex, and we want to make sure it's as usable as possible. So play with it and give us feedback about how you like it. Does it solve your needs? The manner in which we address the schemas in ServiceNow. So yeah, try it out. And we have our first
Amazon Cloud Connector, which I think is exciting. It's good. We want to integrate everything together.
Yes. And Doc Fusion. So this is one of our partners built a new connector to Doc Fusion. Oh, okay, here's the drum roll.
Oh yeah, here's that. Oh, the new connectors was great too.
Yeah.
In progress.
Done. Concurrency Control.
This is a big one. So to help explain this, if you ever are in the situation where Logic Apps, because it's so amazingly awesome in every way, is executing faster than you want it to. Maybe you have 10,000 items and you have to do something for all 10,000 and you're like, holy crap, you guys are screaming at me in parallel with a bunch of items at the same time, slow down. Or maybe you're like pulling items from a queue or grabbing files from FTP and we're triggering too fast and you just want to slow it down. So right now in production today, we have kind of either one instance or all parallel, and it's the same thing for looping. You can either say like, I want singleton for each loops, or everything happens in parallel. What we now have live in code view, so if you're really itching for this now, you can actually do this today in any app. You can set like, I want between, or I never want more than 20 Logic Apps running in parallel at one time. So if we're triggering, we will stop pulling for new items once you have 20 things in parallel, and we'll wait for one of them to finish before grabbing the next. Same thing with looping. You can say like, look, I only want 5 of these happening at the same time. We will wait for those 5 to happen. I will note, this only works today, obviously in code view, if it is a polling trigger. So it's not a request trigger either through a webhook or through an HTTP request. And it can't use split on. So you can't do this like with the Twitter trigger, which I mentioned before does the split on, but it works for FTP, service bus, for each loops across the board work great. Those ones all work. So give it a shot. We will be starting work to grow that out so that it does work with those other trigger types. We're also going to make it exposed in the designer. But this is a big pattern that we're looking to enable to give you more flow control over how quickly events are processed through your workflow.
And you can self-throttle.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Ooh, custom connectors.
Another big one. There's and the good news is, I will say the list may look long or even similar in some spots, but these are very close. So custom connectors, I've been playing with that this week. This enables you when, one of my favorite things in the designer, you see all those pretty icons. You can get your own connector in your subscription so that your own custom connector shows up in that designer list. You can hide secrets or do authentication, and that will all be managed by Logic Apps. And we'll use those connections is what we call it. That's very close. It's we're just finishing up the last touches. I would guess probably the first week of September, we'll roll that out into production. We have some early bits ready for private preview right now. So that's a good one.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. So now instead of having to write your connectivity to some REST backend, using an HP action, you can actually build your own custom connector, and everybody in your company can reuse that connector, and it comes with the connections for the secrets.
Yeah, exactly. So like even this week I ran into this. I was calling Microsoft Graph, which is super powerful and lets me do things like add people to Azure Active Directory and add them to Office and Teams and whatever. But I was using the HTTP action, and I kept having to put like my authentication every time I added a graph action. I had to like copy paste that authentication every time. If I had custom connectors, I just create one connection, and now I can reuse those secrets to talk to Graph everywhere.
And you can shape that API for the ways that you want to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Bum, bum, bum. Large files.
Yay. We've talked about this one before. We will support pushing a gigabyte worth of data between connectors that support it. And right now, the connectors that are on the takeoff ramp ready to go are FTP and Blob. I don't want to say this to overpromise, but I do know that SQL is also being tested to support large files. So I can't. I know. I can't. Can we edit this? It's a live. I can't promise. Like if the testing doesn't go well, we won't be able to ship it. But it's like, look, this should work. We're going to test it out, and we'll continue to add more from there. I'm not very good with SOAP. I don't use it. Yeah, so you might have to talk about this one, Kevin.
The SOAP connector. So this is the most requested feature that we have for Logic Apps, which is the ability to talk to SOAP endpoints.
So stop asking us. No, it's a good ask.
It's hard, but we're trying to make it easy. So it's not that it's hard that we're avoiding it. It's hard to make it easy. So that's our challenge, and that's what we're trying to do. And we're going to connect this through custom connectors. So you'll actually be able to create a SOAP endpoint through our custom connector experience and have all the whistles and fun with your SOAP endpoints. So that is dev work in progress, literally in progress. It's not like where it's just designed. We actually have devs working on it, and it's going to come out probably in a couple weeks.
And if you want kind of an early access to what will that entail, what will it support, we're actually working with the API management team to leverage both their REST to SOAP, or I guess SOAP to REST, as well as SOAP pass-through. So if you have API management today, or you want to sign up for one and you use their experience to onboard a SOAP endpoint, you can do that today and have a similar experience. But that's kind of what we'll be able to support and how it will work behind the scenes, which is great. It'll be a very nice experience and give you great access to WSDL and SOAP and all the wonderful things that entails.
Yes, a lot of old systems too.
I would love to know, does anyone love working with SOAP?
Love working with
SOAP?
like
they're like, I'm so glad. Exactly, that's what it sounds like, right? If you love working with SOAP, if you're passionate about it and you're like, this REST thing is just hype, I would love for you to send me a note, honestly. I'm glad I know we support, like we need to support it, but I would love to know, maybe I don't know, maybe in 10 years, it'll be like, does anyone love doing stuff with JSON? This new telepathy messaging pattern, who knows, whatever.
Okay. Variables. So we let out variables quite some time ago, but we keep on adding capabilities to variables. And the thing that's right in the hopper is the append to array. So that's going to come out super soon. The backend's all done. We just got to get some designer stuff out there so you can get your fingers on it. And coming right after that will be variables append to string.
Very useful for until loops. I think we had a scenario come in this week where someone was like, I've got an until loop. I just need this stuff to be aggregated. I'm following custom pages, even though we support paging. It didn't work for their scenario.
People know that?
Hopefully, the paging thing
is awesome.
Yeah. So if you don't already know, we support paging automatically. So go into those action settings. There's some cool stuff in there.
Expression IntelliSense.
This is shipping on Friday, which is if you're using our expression experience and you start typing something in, you'll see the Visual Studio Code IntelliSense experience to help you in authoring those expressions.
Yeah, no more having to dig in the docs and you actually get the parameters and all that. It's
Hopefully.
Really cool.
We're scrolling through right now. If you don't know it, you have to scroll through that list. It's primitive.
Expression tracing. So now that we're giving you more capability at building these complex expressions, we have to do the right thing in monitoring view, let you see what that expression evaluation actually looks like. So we're going to give you a nice expression tree, and you can see as each nested expression you have, you'll actually see the evaluation of those nested expressions in your monitoring view.
And I know we've talked about this one before for a few months potentially even, but we are working hard on it. I guess there's a lot of complexities of we want to give you rich real-time expression tracing, but we don't want to impact performance at runtime in any way,
Yep.
which means we've had to do some pretty fancy engineering techniques so that your run executes successfully as fast as it can, and then later on we have to kind of go chew into it and break this out. So this is coming. We're still working on it. It's very close. We're kind of working on a few of the last edge cases now, but it is important to us.
For each nesting designer. So of course we supported for each nesting for some time, but now we're exposing the designer so you can actually do that in this first-class way.
Yep, it's actually, we've done the work already to support it in the designer. You see there's even a link there if you're blocked on this or really want to use it today. The piece we're waiting for before we roll it out into prod is there's a few API changes we need to make so that the run monitoring view works. So you can design with it today using this AKA link, but when you go into the run history monitoring view, it won't render correctly until we do this API rollout. So that should roll out end to end in about a week or two.
For each failure navigation.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine having 10,000 items and 2 fail.
Yeah, you open up the thing and it's like you're looking at iteration 1 of 10,000 and something in here failed. You just start clicking that next button. So this is actually paired with those API changes I just talked about, but we're going to give you navigate to next failure or previous failure. So if you have 10,000 iterations, you can just jump straight to the ones that failed for easy debugging.
Functions plus Swagger.
Pretty brief. If you've got Swagger exposed on your function or OpenAPI, we will render a beautiful personalized card for that function. That one's also coming, I believe, on Friday.
Yeah. Publish logic apps to Power Apps and Flow. This is pretty key. So that we have a lot of customers who use Power Apps and Flow, and they want to be able to talk to a logic app. And this will make it now really easy to go ahead and call a logic app. You had to do some strange machinations before to light up that scenario, but now we're making it a lot easier.
One click experience, in fact.
And time-based batching.
So again, one of those hidden features everyone should know about is you can create batches in a logic app and trigger when a batch is full. John walked through that last week or last month. We're going to be adding in the capability so you can say flush this batch every 10 minutes. And then further into the future, we'll actually also provide like flush the batch if 10 minutes passes or I get 500 items, whichever one happens first.
Yep. Really important for these enterprise scenarios. And connectors.
Yay.
Workday Connector. We are working on a Workday Connector. We'll highlight the human resources stuff first, and then more of those services will follow. Feedly is still in the hopper. Another one that we haven't added here is the highly asked for SQL trigger.
Oh, yeah.
So the SQL trigger is out there today. So it's in the EastUS 2. So you can try it out. But one of the things we're going to do is make it more widely available, and that should be coming in the next 2 weeks or so.
Perfect. I believe that's it for updates.
Yeah.
So with that, let's go into a few announcements, and then we'll answer any questions. So the first one is we have to give a big plug and a special update. Yeah, you get Scott Guthrie down there in the bottom left corner. So the Integrate Conference hosted by our good friends BizTalk 360, Service Bus 360, coming to Redmond. They're coming to our backyard. Purchase some tickets now. It'll be a great opportunity to come meet with all of us, as well as some incredible sessions delivered by MVPs and partners and customers around the world. And we're thrilled, and us, yeah. And we're thrilled that Scott Guthrie is going to actually be coming and keynoting and sharing some great stuff. So it'll be a good opportunity. Come on campus, see where we work. You could potentially even come visit the mystical broadcasting room where this happens. It's pretty top secret, though, so I can't make any promises. It's a high production. So yeah, register, buy some tickets. We hope to see you in October. And just 2 more events as well that we want to plug. The first is serverless conference. So Logic Apps is one of the key components in the Azure serverless story. And we're excited to showcase Logic Apps, Event Grid, and Functions at Serverless Conference. Azure's actually platinum sponsors, so they are going to be some really cool stuff. Yeah, there's a serverless workshop on the Monday. There's a hackathon on a Sunday, and 2 days of sessions. Kevin and myself will both be flying out and helping out across all of those. So if you're interested in serverless at all, you want to see what all this excitement and hype is about. I went last April to one of these they had in Austin, Texas. It was honestly a phenomenal conference. Really fun community. This is an emerging space, so everyone there is just there to learn, understand what everyone else is doing and what tools are available. So that's a fun one if that scratches an itch for you. And then the last one, less obscure, but this is Microsoft Ignite, massive conference in Orlando. We have tons of sessions and a booth across Logic Apps, APIs, API management, integration, and serverless. And I'm pretty much the whole team is going to be flying out to that one.
Ignite, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And we're busy because we also have things going on in Europe with another integration boot camp.
That's right.
And other little things like Workday and.
Yeah, there's it seems like the first week of October is conference fiesta season. So we're all going to be spanning the globe, running around. They also announced too the tech summit. They just announced that last week. So I teased it last month. I don't know what sessions. Yeah, so I don't have details on that. I saw a few people who asked specifically on some that are close to you if we're coming. I don't know yet. They're kind of right now saying just focus on Ignite. We'll take care of the rest. But maybe. So we'll let you know. So with that. Let me come and look for questions. Did you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Just our, little links.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can share the links actually while I scan through to see if there's any questions we didn't answer. So let's see here. We have a few questions on that. A few people love concurrency control and SOAP, of course. There is some questions on how to enable log analytics from an ARM template. It is possible. I have to look into it, but there definitely is a way to do it. It's a separate resource, so kind of like you deploy connections along with the Logic app, you create this Microsoft dot something resource. I'd have to look into the specifics. Hopefully, there's something on the quick start templates. I can also share a little snippet of how you can do concurrency control today. Just follow us on Twitter at LogicAppsIO, and I'll tweet out a little gist or gist, however you pronounce that, with that. The only other question I see, is it true VS Code has expression, nothing for VS 2017? Maybe that's just clarification. So there's no VS 2017 tools for Logic Apps. It's just we are using the same tech that runs in Visual Studio Code inside of our designer to author our expressions. So we're just leveraging the Monaco editor is what it's called. It's hosted on GitHub, pretty open source. And I think that's it for questions. Sequential convoys. I don't know if there's anything. People are doing exclamation points. I don't know if there's, I assume people are saying with some of these new capabilities, you could potentially do sequential convoys.
Well, we could do sequential convoys with sessions and service buses. Yeah,
correct. Which Kevin plugged in our, I want to say like April webcast.
It seems so long ago.
I know, but yeah, that was good. Actually, that's actually a cool webcast to check out. So I'm going to do one last scan of Twitter to make sure that nobody is asking any questions on Twitter. It doesn't look like it. So with that, thank you very much for joining. We will join, or we'll have another one of these in September. As I mentioned, we're going to be traveling everywhere.
Maybe we'll do it from Disney.
Yeah, we'll do with the Epcot ball right behind us, or Magic Kingdom. We'll just make sure our laptop doesn't overheat. But it will be September, so it won't be too bad. But
Florida.
Yeah, again, thanks everyone. I've noticed, I've seen there's some incredible blogs that have been published in this last month as well. There was one by Steve just on BizTalk 360 I saw this morning. Wagner has started a new blog. He's contributed to this template creator stuff. We've got a few, Tunes always publishing some exciting stuff. I know he has some new additions to his family, so I hope that means he'll have even more time to publish even more blogs. But thank you everyone for helping in our community, for giving us great feedback, and please let us know if you have any questions, feedback, what you'd like to see us work on next, and we'll talk to you all again next month.
Ciao.
Okay, thanks everyone.